this. Now let's see, where is the link for the actual broadcast? Right here, let's see. There it is. This is both broadcast. Let's see, where is the link for the actual all right. Okay, this is Open Source Ecology's design sprint. I'm broadcasting right now, waiting for people to join. People can listen to this after the event. My name is Marcin, founder of Open Source Ecology, and one of our development protocols for engaging a broad open source product development pipeline, which is what we do at Open Source Ecology. We design and build open source industrial machines, publish the plans online for free. Part of that is collaborative development, cloud collaborative development with remote teams and on-site as well through workshops and actual builds. But the idea for the design sprint is how do we get a lot of people aligned to work together remotely? And that takes two things. One is, how do you do that? And we use simple tools like the Google Hangout. Cloud editable docs are key. The ability to simply take a document which many people are editing at the same time. So if you have a task that takes a long time, you can divide that task by the n people that are participating. Now that could apply to simple things like generating lists, designs, design specifications, anything. But if you have open source CAD capacity, you can also do design, just real CAD design in parallel where people see each other's results. Okay, but the other part is, number two part of a design sprint is the people and a cultural literacy of how to collaborate. That's the part that we're working on in terms of protocols. That the goal is still to get about 1,000 people together for a big event where we get some serious work done. If you look at the kind of work we have to do, I'm going to review the roadmap, the impertinent part. You can see the roadmap. Actually, let me share my screen. All the links I'm talking about are on the wiki, opensourceecology.org/wiki. I'm sharing my screen right now. So opensourceecology.org/wiki, and this is the roadmap page. You can access those links through today's agenda, which is on the design sprints. If you go to design sprints, you can access the agenda there. Go to design sprints log March 2016. All the past logs of design sprints are there. Click on March 4th, and you'll get taken to some of the links. So let's take a look at the roadmap in the pertinent part. We're at 2016. The goal for this design sprint, we're going to do a little bit of work on the first distributed enterprise of the 3D printer as a bootstrap funding proof of concept. And a lot of people get involved in that. And please, anybody who's joining, please mute your mics. Anybody who's joining that project, it's very important that we have people, like, how did open software succeed? Well, first of all, there were fanatics who wanted an open source operating system, and the other ones were proprietary and very expensive. They couldn't get them. So people wanted to get, initially with Linux, get an operating system that they can access for free, and that's why they were motivated to develop. So there was an economic motivation, and then many people got jobs. The open software pretty much runs the world right now, like the backbone of the internet, but there was a real financial incentive. And then we're saying, okay, what does it take in this game of open source hardware to provide that kind of incentive? And we're saying, okay, well, let's start talking about the enterprise that comes out of open source development. So people have conceived of the idea of the 8 forms of capital. It's a true fan, Greg Landau, and another fellow. But another form of significant capital, I would say to that, is we called it open source capital, but it's really distributive enterprise capital. So look at that. What is that form of capital? It's if you have an open business model. It's like money in a bank, because you can start it up. It does take your activity. It does take a lot of responsibility and work, but you can then start it up. And it's like having money in a bank, because you can get going, and that's the name of our game. How can we get people involved in enterprises that create for the creation of mass creation of right livelihood? Right livelihood is what we talk about. Good jobs based on meaning as opposed to other motivations. So 2016, we've got the first distributed enterprise on the 3D printer, and that's the collaboration for this design sprint. Then we've got the brick production enterprise. Good news on that front, actually. We have just gotten some news from the OSCE India people that we're starting a chapter there, and we're going to create a conference on distributive enterprise with the brick press as the topic of that. So we're going to work on a FreeCAD infrastructure for that, but they're talking seriously about an open business model for how do people produce the brick press. So that's the second milestone for the year. And we're starting with the 3D printer because we can test out all these enterprise creation aspects with that as a low entry barrier way to do it. Now, third milestone in 2016, open source product development platform version 0.01. That means what's our online presence for community, simple tools that we can use to collaborate in an effective way. Let me go back to that. What does that look like? Part of that is the design sprint in the open source product development platform. That's where we're getting these design sprints going, and slowly it really depends on enough people understanding the infrastructure for doing that and the process for doing that, then we can do effective work. And right now, it's historically we've had maybe like 2013, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, average design sprint had like a dozen people, and always took a lot of time to get everyone up to speed, like how do we work, how do you save things on the wiki, or how to use Google Docs, how to use CAD, things like that. It all takes time, and that's why we want to create a uniform platform for doing that up to the point of a Linux distribution where you just download this, and all the software and all the explanations are there in a dedicated Linux operating system. So we're going to produce that by the end of this year, starting actually with the 3D printer, where we are distributing a Linux version with all the open source control code for the 3D printer to avoid all the messes of people trying to get the software to work. Okay, but that's part of the open source product development platform. And then once we do the 3D printer, the product transition is 3D printer to torch table to brick press and heavy machinery. But the heavy machinery construction set, heavy equipment construction set, is part of the deliverables for 2016. So if we generate those library parts in FreeCAD, our goal is to have now hundreds of people get involved, to the point that by 2017 we get viral replication happening on a 3D printer, the torch table, the brick press, tractor parts, 1,000 machines worldwide. Now, just had good news on the replication in this is in Peru, a tractor for a gold mine in Peru run by some natives as a collaborative project by a French group that developed the tractor for them. Well, so that kind of replication, we want to make it easy, very easy, and develop all the techniques for doing that. So open source product development platform version 0.01, and then getting back to some core work on the heavy equipment construction set, including things like right now we're planting out 10,000, seeding out 10,000 nut trees, breeding them, hazelnuts and chestnuts, and we're going to use our tractors to do the keyline plowing and soil preparation for that. So as we go forward, we always dog food, we always test to see whether the things that we're doing are actually working. So that's the roadmap. So let's talk about the design sprints now. On the design sprint page, that's what we do is we propose an agenda to get people to join. Right now we kind of messed this up. There's only like 3 people right now. I don't think people had enough advance warning. I guess one learning is that I'm going to put the link. I'm going to set up the Google Hangout on air. You can schedule those, and then it will start recording at the scheduled time. But right now we're recording this such that the people who participate online, they can interactively work together right here, but also an unlimited number of people can see this broadcast. So if you go to the Facebook, click on the design sprint, takes you back to the design sprint, which is our control interface for the design sprint. They can click on the well, actually, right there, it's kind of indistinct there, but there's the link to the Google Hangout on air for interactive and the live stream over there, and maybe I can edit that right now. So what you're seeing is the wiki is live editable. Many people can work online with it. I'm going to make that a little more distinct there by putting triple brackets around it to make it quite visible. But that's the wiki. Anyone can get an account. Save page. This is the wiki account. Just log in, and here's now I just corrected this link here so it's more prominent. But you go here. Okay, if I log out, log in or create account, Marcin username, keep me logged in, log in, and you can edit, and that's one of the key tools to doing this, because an infinite number of people can edit this, and it's a very powerful tool. You can embed anything, like you can embed videos, you can embed graphs that are actually editable, like you can edit this graph in Google, and this will change right here automatically. So the thing is, we call it cloud embeddable collaborative software, something that many people can participate on at the same time. It's cloud, meaning that when you update it in the cloud, it changes everywhere where it's published. It's embeddable. You can get an HTML embed code, so you can paste this into your wiki like here or anywhere else. Cloud, collaborative, embeddable. That is key for all the tools, because that allows infinite scaling for the number of people that can participate, and the immediacy of other people seeing that something has happened. So part of this collaborative literacy is, how do you get so many people to see what they're doing in real time? I mean, of course, you can have video calls and all that, but behind that, there could be a whole infrastructure where in the background there's stuff happening, things are getting updated. And to get there, I mean, the wiki can use a number of different templates. Like right now, we're working on an info box, so you can have basically a one-stop shop for any product. You have an attractive info box. I actually started that OSE wiki. I'm going to show you that just for a second. OSE structure specification. But one big thing is, so here this is an embeddable Google Slides, Google presentation, so you can actually have presentation in there. But it's very simple. Okay, so you have the wiki, you have the info box, and then all the content for that particular topic of development. And here, what's very useful is we have a graphical navigation index. And to do that, I'm going to show you Wevolver, something like Wevolver. So Wevolver is an open source hardware development platform online where people post projects. And one of the most important things in a project like this is breakdown into smaller and smaller parts so that many people can work together. Wevolver does that really well, in a sense. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to log in, and no, I'm not even going to log in. Let's look at a project and see how that looks to show you where we want to go. Okay, so there's an UltraScope featured project, but look at this. So you've got this thing is what I'm referring to. Look at this breakdown. You got your main machine, you got hardware, you got software, and you got all these other components. So you can take a machine, break it into components, and even break it into the sub-steps and sub-development steps. So you can use this very robustly for this kind of thing, this kind of a breakdown. It's critical. And it would be nice to get something like this for the wiki. That's just the call out for anyone who can do this. But right now we're going to actually do Wevolver, see if our community can adopt it and is it user friendly. But it looks really good. You got your navigation here. You can click to whatever other page you want to go to. Look at this, hardware. It's a nice, very nice breakdown diagram. Here you click on the tube as one of the components. It takes you to the tube. So we're going to put our stuff onto Wevolver for now, but it would be nice. It is not open source as the software itself, though they intend to do that in the future. And right now, if you look at for the OSE wiki specification, we've got a long way to go. We just got a little diagram of what we'd like to do, but an info box followed by the modular breakdown kind of structure, like I just showed you with Wevolver. And then content. But anyway, that should be available for any page. And it should be such that someone can just click edit on this page within the wiki, like you can click edit right here. And then you can copy the code for doing that, and you can create your own machine development. Like say you want to develop a new caliper, open source hardware calipers, or whatever. You can clone this, embed it, and then put in your assets, your pictures, and everything. So it's easy to have a nice, attractive display for what you're doing. Okay, but now to the, let's see. Let's go to the design sprint itself and let's talk about the collaborative development. Let's talk about the collaborative development on the actual 3D printer. So I mentioned on a roadmap, so here's the design sprint log. Here's agenda March 2016. Marketing strategy. So I talked a little bit about design sprints. Let's talk about marketing strategy. What does that look like for the 3D printer? So right now we've got our workshop coming up March 19th. Looks like we've got about 5 people. So far, we still got 2 weeks to go, so we're expecting about 5 to 10 more. Basically, what we found typically is that this registration is linear, pretty much right up to the day of the announcement. But how do you run this workshop? Well, that's part of the deliverables. Look at the learning outcomes. The distributive enterprise is one of the learning outcomes. And there's not a lot. I mean, one day you get to build it, and then we're going to have a discussion session after dinner, but we're going to try to cover as much as we can. But you can look at the business plan, and you can provide some feedback and encourage your friends to provide feedback. So I'm going to take you to my log on the wiki, opensourceecology.org/wiki, my log, and there's a couple of surveys that we have, and it's I keep all my notes here. I encourage you to set up a log so that somebody can see all your work. You can see absolutely everything that I do on my log. So take a look at this. There's a survey that we put out there, 3D printer workshop analysis of industry standards. What are all the other 3D printer workshops? What do they charge? How long does it take them to build a 3D printer? That's called our market research for who our competition is with respect to the model of producing printers in the workshop. Fill that out, have other people fill that out. That's very useful background research data. So far we know that the closest other workshop that claims to build 3D printers is about 24 hours as far as being offered as a commercial opportunity where you can actually participate in that and get a 3D printer. Okay, so that's the 3D printer workshop survey For anyone who's participated in a build workshop or knows of a workshop, please fill that out. Now, the second part is the feasibility of this enterprise model. So I've shown you the, so here's the website, the workshops, the 3D printer. One of the big question is, what is this distributive enterprise model all about? So you can read about it. The announcement takes you to the link to the actual distributed enterprise business plan. So some numbers, some potential scenarios here. What are the numbers? What's the marketing strategy, and so forth? But people don't know what an open business model of distributed enterprise is. We published that first in MIT Innovations Journal in 2012. Nobody knows about it. It's pretty much a few years ahead of its time. People do know of a franchise, but this is it's like an open franchise. But here we're just taking some data, basically asking questions are such as, I mean, what would make a model like this work? What is needed to make it happen? Because personally, we think at Open Source Ecology, based on the results, so this is, we've been doing these workshops for some time, and what we found is that, let me see. What we found is that we can get very much amazing results in the not 3D printer, in a build workshop that's designed for rapid group builds. We call that extreme manufacturing. We've accomplished it first in 2012 in December when we built the 2,000-pound brick press in a single day. Very long day, many mistakes, pretty frustrating, but we finished it, and we've continued that to the point that we can build houses in like 3 days or 5 days. We've built the brick press, the power cube, the iron worker machine in a single day. We're going to get the tractor builds in a single day too, and everything else. The model where you can break down a machine into a parallel design and build, meaning many people work in parallel on modules and then rapidly put them together. That works. And that's the kind of technique we're going to use to do the printer, 3D printer, to build it in a single day. And in fact, we're looking at, okay, what if our instructionals are extremely good, how can we increase the size of that workshop? Well, I think that a single MC running that kind of event, if you have really good documentation, really everything is totally laid out, including language agnostic instructionals and complete quality control lists, then a single person can guide that event. And if people can learn from each other, set up an environment where people learn, then pretty much you can spawn a process where tons of builds get made in a single day. So that's the vision. Like, can we do like 50 or 100 3D printers, get a bunch of people in a big room, and do that? We think we can. Now, right now, we're going to do 12 printers in this first workshop, and we're going to continue from there. So, but the enterprise model, replicability, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about developing this model together where anybody in the world can run this workshop. What does it take? Now, one of the big hurdles is marketing. That's what we're going to talk about today a little bit. But the idea is, right now we're running with an ready-made, off-shelf 3D printer kit. Next, we're going to do our own, which means a scalable, modular kit. Kit as in construction set. We do everything with the construction set approach. If you have a basic parts, like here's the frame, here's the x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, here's the extruder, here's the power supply controller. Make it modular and such that it can be scaled up, down, intensively, meaning larger, extensively, meaning in number. So for example, if you have a heavy tool head on this modular 3D printer, which can be turned into any machine, then you can have, for example, use 2 x-axis drives to carry a heavier load, but they're identical. And in fact, if it's like XYZ machine, simple Cartesian, the X, Y, and Z can be an identical module. So we're really pushing the modularity on that. That's the next step. So we don't have that yet. That's going to be the further development and design sprints as we go forward. But for now, marketing. Let's talk about marketing. So, which is one of the big things. Like, assume we have a good product, right? So we're developing a 3D printer construction set. You can build any kind of printer, any size, so up to larger, like 3 feet or 4 feet. That's what we need. We want to print rubber tracks from thermoplastic elastomers. We want to print multi-wall polycarbonate glazing. Those are some of the real practical implications So imagine our greenhouse, the aquaponic greenhouse, now goes way down in price. We literally get free glazing from recycled CDs, which are made of polycarbonate. Okay, marketing strategy. There's many elements. Marketing mix model. People refer to that as what are all the channels that you're referring to when you do marketing. Let me share my screen again. This is marketing strategy on the wiki. Just search that on opensourceecology.org/wiki. There's many elements. One is press, TV, radio. There's many things. You can take a look at that. We're going to concern ourselves with the press. So let's talk about a press strategy. I'm going to go back to my log, and you can follow the work here. But local newspaper strategy. Thursday, May 3rd, I was working on this. How do you reach out to newspapers? That's okay. We're 2 weeks away from the event. Right now is a good time to get local advertising happening. We did some global on the Facebook and all that, our channels. Now we reach out a little to the newspapers. So first you got to start with lists. And there's actually so I'm starting with a strategy here, but I just already found out. Just Google presslist.xls. Okay, Google that right now, and you'll find a bunch of spreadsheets from other organizations where you can actually get a list instead of composing. I started doing this OSC local press contacts. Local means within 4-hour drive. I went online. There was some directories, and I started typing them in. But you can also get them off shelf, off existing resources, like for example, Media Alliance. No, okay, there's whatever. You can search that. So so a list like this right here, you just find it online. So I sent out. I took the email. I sent my little press release. So what you do with a local media is you have to send them a press release. One thing I did find out is that some people, if you give them a press release unsolicited, they're not going to open up an attachment. So just attach it to the main text. But let's do this for a few minutes. So let's have a little exercise. Where we start up a Google Doc and we actually collaboratively, right now, let's see what we can get for other lists, because we've reached out to Kansas City. I think we've got that covered. But let me close up some of these tabs here. Let's find some more. So what are some of the, so this is marketing strategy, and there's also, I don't want to confuse you, but there's a development spreadsheet where we keep track of all the development on a 3D printer, and it's here. You can, it's linked off if you Google for D3D development on the wiki. You can access this, but this is the development of the various items. So this is like the breakdown. We've got quite a bit, but we're only 23% done. Event organization is the tab down here where you see the various assets for how you organize an event, and we're keeping track of everything so you can end up with an open business model. So marketing is the big part. Publicity plan, promotional video, local press release. So this item number 39 there is the local press release, so you can actually see what I sent out. You can take that 3D printed press release, and there's a local one and a global one. We can use kind of global if it's more than an hour away, but you can access this. You can take this for immediate release. You get a little template, and this is if you're going to organize your own workshop. You just do this again. You can bite off some of our stuff about OSC, that you're involved with OSC in some way, but actually we got to be careful about how people use the word OSC. If it's not an official sanctioned OSC event, then you can refer to OSC, but you can't say that you are OSC because there's a trademark on that, and we're going to kick your ass. Just kidding. If you use it, we're trying to. We got a trademark on OSC because we don't want people who are closed source using that name, and we can actually take action if someone does do that. Not like we want to do that. We don't want to do that. We're not into protectionism, patent protectionism, or anything like that. But doesn't mean that someone else can't defend us but we just don't have the energy to do that right now. We can work through third parties. Okay, but here's a press release. Let's have a little experiment. So you go to Google Drive, and I'll set this up. And this is what a typical design sprint would look like. You start a doc in Google Drive. Here's my Google Drive, and let's start a new document. So I'm just going to show this in real time how this works. New. Select new Google Slides. So slides are multi-page documents. So I'm going to say this is design sprint, so you can in real time now edit this. So I'm going to do sharing, and in the sharing settings, I'm going to name it design sprint 1. So I save that. I'm going to share that. So now I'm going to go to advanced, and who has access? Change that to open to the world, on public on the web, access anyone on the internet, no sign-in required, can edit. Save it. So now we've got a cloud editable document. If I give you this link, which I'm pasting in right now into the chat box, it's right there. You can now get in there and edit it. The other part about this is, okay, so that's like, but how does somebody else find that? They don't know about it. Well, we want to put it on our wiki or somewhere where someone can access it, or where it's a permanent placeholder. So I can actually publish this. So, you know, I'll put it in my little picture. Okay, so I see somebody entered there already. That means somebody's already in there and has the capacity to edit. So you can edit it and all that. So I'll show you. You can embed this file. You can put this on a wiki, and you can actually click and go through this presentation on a wiki. So file, publish to the web, embed, publish, OK. It gives you the embed code, so you Control-C to copy it. And then you go to the wiki. So what's a good place on the wiki? Well, we've got the design sprints page. So let's go to the here, which is the design sprint log. Here's an entry for March 16. So here was the So I can actually embed this. So I can say working document, and then I can embed it. What you do is you just got to put in the HTML tags. It's a little technical, but anyone can do this. You just put in HTML tags and now paste the link that Google Docs gave you. And there you've got the working document right there, and it's somebody already organized. They put this in the center, so someone's working in the background. Good job. So new slide here, and we can say, okay, so let's say press release. Now we can edit this. Press release. Cities 4 hours within Kansas City. We already did the Kansas City. We already did. I just found that press release from like California, so I actually sent it out to a bunch of contacts there. But let's do this. So everybody who's on the document, and I see only 2 people. If anyone else can join it, you got to figure out how to do this. This is the critical thing. You got to find out how to get into these documents. If you go to the design sprint page, if you just click, so the way if you're lost and you don't know where to find it, you can just click on this Google Slides right there. And that will actually take you into the document for editability. And right now it's shared openly to the world. Anyone in the world can edit. Now you might think, well, somebody's going to just go in and rip it up. Well, yeah, sure they can, but in practice it actually rarely happens that somebody just goes into your document and trashes it. So it's actually pretty safe. And if we've got really valuable information here, of course you might want to, like, at that point, like, close down the permissions to just view mode. But the other thing is, if you're worried about what's going to happen to your doc when you share it, just go to File and just make a copy. Done. So you copied it, and then so it's a copy of that document, and then this goes into your own Google Drive, and right now it's protected. So if you're afraid that somebody's going to ruin your document, just copy it and put it in your own drive. It automatically goes into your own drive if you use Google Drive. The other thing is about this, there's also one thing I want to point out. In File, there's see revision history, and that's an important aspect here. You see that there's a revision history of the changes that have been made. And you can, believe it or not, if someone trashes it, you can just go to, say, the former version right there, and you can do restore this revision. So that's a way that if somebody trashes your document, you should just restore it. So there's actually a backup for any troublemakers on the internet. Okay. So here's the we've got the press release, which I'm going to paste. So you can paste links. Okay. I'm in revision history, so I have to go back out of this. So design sprint 1, press, so let's say, let's do press release. We can make a link to that, and you can take this and help us out. So the task here is help us out. Send us out to your contacts wherever you are, so you can take a look at that. But send it out to cities that are 4 hours within Kansas City. So first of all, let's get some lists. So lists of press, lists of press contacts. So let's do it. So there's a bunch of cities. Press return. Bullet points. What are the cities involved? You got Des Moines. So people start typing here. What are cities close to Kansas City? Des Moines. There's St. Louis. There's what is there? My mind's going blank. Lincoln, Nebraska, actually. Huge cities, like million population. Lincoln. There's what's north of Kansas City in Iowa. Des Moines. I did that already. But for each one, we can find online. So what I'd like you to do is let's get some lists. List 1, list 2. So Google it right now and make that happen. So we go to Google, and we said, so go back to the media strategy, or marketing strategy. Marketing strategy. There's the roadmap, but I lost my document there. But what do you search for? What do we say we're going to search for? Search for media list, press content, like maybe something like press list.xls. Well, let's examine that. Press list.xls. There you go. So there's a bunch of ones. So let's see if we can find something for Des Moines. .xls. Iowa media contact list. There you go. Media list. What's that? Yeah, look at that. So you can do that. You can find all these different lists. So let's go through one. Opening it, so it's downloading. So the second one says Iowa media contact list. How do you access those? So you can look around and see ready spreadsheets, and if there's a ready spreadsheet, we can just take the editor contacts and paste an email, blast an email out to them. So there you go. And so you've got the press release on page 1. You've got the cities within 4 hours of Kansas City. So that's the media list I just downloaded. Now this media list, it's got phone numbers and emails. Wow. So that looks like a list that's national. So it's like a bunch of different, maybe this is not the most appropriate because it's like, okay, magazines like Smithsonian and Playboy and Newsweek and things. Maybe not relevant for what we exactly want to do right now, so trash that. But here, let's take a list. So let's drop a list. I'm not seeing anybody edit that people. Okay. So states around Missouri.
There's no text box. I still can't find the document. Is it on the page?
If you can't find a document, you go to the press. Okay, that's a good question. Document. So go to the wiki. If you search in the main box, you can type MJ. It takes you to my log. Nope, sorry, can't find it there. Go to Design Sprints, and you're taken to the Design Sprint announcement. Next Design Sprint announcement. Here's the agenda right there. Design Sprint log should take you there. So here it does take you there. Design Sprint log. Click on March 4, and we just embedded this document into the wiki, so that anybody in the world can find it. Click on the Google Slides. So that's how you get in there. Okay, so hopefully people get that. But that's some of the critical things, like how do we get everybody on the same page rapidly? Everyone understands the culture, like immediately, bam. We do a design sprint, and we say, okay, go to the working doc. People will know. Okay, you go to the design sprints, go to the agenda, and whatever is there, it should be pasted within the agenda. And if it's not, like say we just started something, well, somebody else do it. Okay, like let's all work together. That page on the wiki, this page right here, I just did that, right? So if we got another important asset we want to share, somebody could just do that without me doing that. Somebody could have done that. I could have been speaking about other stuff, and somebody can embed it. Now, if we all have that culture of how this works. So remember, we're trying to get to 1,000 people to do this at the same time. So imagine like we spawn some development, like the filament extruder. That's going to be next, and we have a lot of people developing all the different parts. But how do you have people know what parts to develop? The next level of difficulty it's called the development template, and so how do you organize what's the information architecture for all that we're developing? It's actually in these templates, and you can copy them and embed them. But I'm going to take you to the one for the 3D printer, which is on the 3D printer page, if you can find that. You will have all the different development points. So, for example, there's 40 development points for some machine. You can have a tag team where we say, okay, the information architecture for this design sprint is such and such. We need these tasks done. And before the design sprint, the optimal situation would be people actually say, okay, I'm gonna do during the design sprint, I'm gonna do the requirements, like right there. Or in the design sprint, I'm going to work on the conceptual design or the calculations, generating parts for the part library. Like on a 3D printer, we can right now be downloading like step files and putting into our library for parts that go into the 3D printer off manufacturers' websites. Electronic schematics, build instructions, everything. So the architecture is here. If people understand it, then many people can tackle them. We can just say, okay, hey crew, let's do it, and everybody just dives into their respective tasks, and the event could be like people get clarification on what the direction is, where we're going, kind of little coordination, but otherwise people can pretty much go on their own and work together on this. And in the event organization tab, so we're talking about the enterprise, this tab right here tries to document all the different enterprise development steps. So anyway, that's the design sprint infrastructure. So let's go back to the task at hand, which is just doing these press contacts as a simple exercise. So we list the states, so states and cities. So anything that's Nebraska, Iowa, there would be Illinois. Those are the surrounding states. Okay. I don't have to do that. Google a map. Look at the states that are around us. So what we might want to do here is do a little, to make it clear, like say there's other people that want to watch this video and haven't, well, make it as clear as possible. So here's the protocol for this. We want to document things like protocols, like for example, if we have the press. So here we have the distributed enterprise. We've got marketing, like publicity plan, or local press release. Well, you see under local press release, that's still black. There's nothing underneath it. The other blue things are links. What we do here in the column 1 is we put links to the actual protocol for how you do this. So under local press release, you can see, and it logged me into my other account, and I can't edit, so I got to go back to my other account, because this document is actually locked down because it's a really important document, but you can clone it anytime. You can actually make a copy of that. If you want to make additions to this or changes, you just go to File, make a copy, then you can copy it locally, and you can edit this. But here I'm editing this because it's mine. It's all mine. But okay, so event organizational tab. We've got the local press release. So these are Google Spreadsheets. You can add a link to that, and simply you go to the link tab, and you go http opensourceecology.org/wiki local press release protocol. here we define a protocol. So now it's linkable. It goes back to the wiki now, and now I can define a protocol for how we do a local press release. Okay. So what are the steps? Number one, write a press release. Number two, search for press. Well, generate a press list. Press contact list. If you're going to run your workshop, this is what you got to do. For your local area, focus on your local area, because we're going to develop this for the global and for local around here, but you can do the same for yours. So the whole effort builds. Say we do the event on the same date, we can all collaboratively market the event. So generate a press contacts list, or find one by searching press list .xls on Google. Email the contacts. Now here's the learnings of the limits. Send if like one learning I already had, if unsolicited. Don't do attachments. They can have viruses. Don't do attachments, but embed into the email itself, but paste into email body. Now the next thing is, what you should be doing is actually, so you got your phone number in there for a press contact person. Like if you have the press release at the end, it says if you like more information, contact. Here's the contact. I'm the contact right now. It's for immediate release. Protocol. So the protocol now. So I'm skipping to the former document. The protocol. I'm just going to link to this link back on a wiki. So we're defining our protocol. See wiki. All we need to do, just put a link to that. So now you can see the protocol that I'm editing there. Sorry for the mess, but we do that. So now build relationships. I think that's the key, probably, because if you spam a bunch of contacts, they have plenty of floods of, if it's a big paper like the New York Times, they're going to vet what they publish. So build the relationships. How do you do that? Well, if somebody responds to you, try to follow up or give them a call. But the best thing is, get interviews, meet editors, meet editors and reporters, so that you can call up that reporter and then say, hey, John, we've got another event coming up. Can you do an announcement? And then you get inside. You kind of build your relationships that way. So here's the skeleton of a press release protocol. It's not complete. You can click on it from the other document. It takes you there. Now, another task for you. Click Edit. You can edit in there. You just got to be logged into the wiki, and you can continue refining this. So the point is, we are dogfooding, refining all the steps as we go. This development template is just generally a complete architecture that's in progress. So anything you see here that's black, or if you think you read each of these protocols, if they are not good, here's how you do an exploded part diagram, etc. Okay. Well, if you don't think there's a step missing, go edit and fix it. This is the collaborative method, collaborative development. So you can contribute to the which are in C. And when you do this, right now what we do to get a burn down, and we're working on this, Tibor, one of our design sprinters, is working on this in the background, but out of this spreadsheet, we're parsing it to generate a burn down graph, like you see 23% done, which is basically 1 through 10. So basically the number of steps divided by the number, the total divided by the number of items to get you a simple percentage. But we can track that in time to generate attractive burn down graphs. So burn down graph. What's a burn down graph? We want to see things like that. Like here's all the different tasks Well, anyway, to see where you're at in project development, if we're 23%, you want to take a look at the burndown of that to get you, like, if you see the date on the bottom, if you look at the date, then you can look at the number of tasks done. It gets you a good feeling for where the project is. Like, for example, if you see in the burndown graph that the last big step of activity has happened, March 2nd, that means the project is very active. So you can assess the health of projects that way. We're generating this out of the spreadsheet and embedding that later in the wiki. Okay, but back to the protocol. I'm going to wrap up on a protocol. So you get the protocol for doing this. We're going to ask you the homework assignment for anyone on this design sprint, and whoever is watching this as the webcast, help us. Haven't done this yet. So now, here's the other part. If you have a bunch of people working on this remotely, you have to have so I'm going to go back to the protocol because it's important. You have to have people know what's happened. So in this, record if you are doing publicity, document who you reached. And I'm going to have to start that myself to set an example on this page right here. So let's open up a new slide, and we just contacts, or you can say people contacted already. Been contacted. So I can tell you right now, well, I've already done Kansas City press list, and you can see that on the wiki. So actually, if you go to local press release, where was that? I'll go back to my log. See, it's hard. So let me make a comment on tracking things. The log is really useful because if you do a lot of stuff, I pretty much record everything. You can make hyperlinks in the wiki, but I know I did that yesterday. I click on local newspaper strategy, but you got to get to say you're doing a ton of stuff and you want people from you. The only way you can do it is by keeping a paper trail in an organized fashion, and the way to do it is a log. So that's why we encourage a log. But I go to the local newspaper strategy, and I actually see here the lists. These are actually the ones I've already contacted. So I can put that right in there. So I've done this. You don't have to worry about this. So you can see which ones have been done. But here, only first, well, you can actually go there to local press contacts. And as of March 3rd, I actually put a note there. As of March 3rd, this contains only the first column of the resource where I got this from. So there's this press release JET. It lists all the towns in Missouri. I just did the first column. That was like 100 there already. Because if you go to one of these, some have multiple newspapers. So only the first column has been done there. But basically, you have to keep track of what's been done. So you have to know where to find things. Let other people know that you're working. So next page, new slide. So you can say collaborators and commitments. So I'm going to leave this topic. So we got 10 minutes left. Collaborators and commitments. So I'm going to say sent out local lists already. So who else? If you're committing to something, this is our team, like our team contract. We say who's doing what, who's committing to do what. So if you're going to commit to doing any of this publicity, please, the byline here is please sign in and tell us what you can commit to sending out publicity for March. And this is for the March 19 event, so that we can do this in the future, and all of us, we can collaboratively do this, go through this process. Say we want to reach out to all the publicists. Like right now, it's taken a bunch of time to generate all the lists and get our bearings. But once we have this in a bag, what's interesting in it for you? Well, once we generate all these lists and adapt it for our local areas, then you can execute on your publicity to all the newspapers, say across all the globe in like a minute. I mean, imagine that. You have all the lists, you've got a press release template, you've got 32,000 newspapers around the world, a little is an open source email list, and 2,000 emails. That costs like $100 if you use the service. That's why we want to have an open source mail list. We don't have that yet, so we're only doing like 500 here, 500 there. We don't really have that set up so much. We really need to get on that. It gets expensive if you want to do a lot of mailings. So the concept is if we collaborate on it for yourself, it'll be just such a much easier thing to do. And this is just the press. I mean, there's many other things. There's things like, there's of course social media. There's going to meeting local groups. So this is one of the many different elements of a marketing strategy. We just hit this one. So marketing strategy on a wiki. There's this bubble I just generated here, but press, TV, radio. We just did the press part of this bubble here. So there's a lot of different things you can do. You can have local meetups. I don't know. You can do a speaking circuit. You can talk to your local church. Social media strategy. How do you market? I mean, marketing has a lot of different elements. Here we're just doing the publicity, but yeah, there's a lot of different elements. And an integrated strategy, like, okay, marketing strategy, that's a big document to develop. But once you have this integrated strategy, that's just some bubbles here. But what are the specific protocols for each? Well, we're not there yet. We're hardly doing. That's all we have on the local newspaper strategy. So help us do that. Go to this page. I actually want to do a news show for OSE once we get some feeds and get this set up properly. But go to this page, marketing strategy. Help us. Get us some. Best links to marketing. How do you learn marketing 101? What is that? We got to teach our people to do that, because enterprise. That's going to be part of enterprise. We're into open hardware, but part of that is, unless you want to just do things for yourself, if you're talking about serving communities, serving people, you have to market it. And it's going to be easier in the future, but right now we're competing with a lot of noise out there. So, okay, but now in the last 5 minutes, I'm going to just talk about. So please, in summary, do this. Help us do this. We'll see if this works. If anybody actually got to do anything out of this, because that's always the experiment. You throw things out into the wild. You don't know what's going to come back, and some things, a lot of very surprising things happen. That's the benefit of open source. You can get interesting collaborations happening, and our goal is to really scale the number of developers contributing. Last thing. So in I'm going to quit out of that. So in product development. So right now we're using an off-shelf 3D printer. The goal is a scalable, modular 3D printer construction set. It includes some of the infrastructure around the 3D printer. You can look at the roadmap page on the wiki, and you can see the 3D printer roadmap. It shows all kinds of technical developments around it, but the important thing to note, well, the value has to be really attractive for people. I think the next step is the extruder for making your own filament, so you can recycle your own garbage. How about that? That's good. So we're looking at that a little bit, and I would like to see this workshop when we have the next offering. So March 19 is the first, and then we're going to do 2 months after that for the next official group workshop. I mean, we'll see who will actually do it. This Monday in the collaborative literacy webinar, we actually had 6 people that said are going to do workshops after they participate in this one. So that's awesome. That's amazing scaling. That's 600% growth rate over 2 months. That's stellar. That's faster than Google grows. So, but the quality product, quality offering is what we need to have. So the plastic extruder for making your own filament out of anything, that's a really good idea, because a lot of people, I mean, especially the environmentalists, they're like, wow, I can start recycling trash, plastic, a bumper made of ABS, or your shopping bags and things. But that takes a little bit of technology. There's some open source filament extruders out there, but we'd like to get this for the 2 months from March 19. We'd like to have an initial workshop on that. So what I'd like to see is 1 day on the 3D printer and 1 day on the extruder. So how do we go about that? Well, we have to research. So the process for doing that would be to start up a new development spreadsheet like this, start a wiki page on it, start some effort on that, and go forward. But the promise is, if you have an extruder to make your own filament, then you can do pretty amazing things like those annoying CDs that you might have that you don't use anymore. You can grind them down and you can print glazing for your greenhouse. That would be pretty amazing. But we're going to look at that. So maybe in the following design sprints, and as we go, we're actually researching right now what the best options to go forward with that are. But if you have any insights on that, feel free to share them. I think an easy way to share is if you go to the Design Sprints wiki page and you go to the agenda for the day, you can contribute. I mean, feel free to contribute to the existing document or start a new one, and meaning a Google presentation that can be embedded in a wiki, and then share it with me or share it on the Design Sprint log. It's open for editing. And let's start taking notes on what the first major question is: which extruder do we go with? Because there's some that are open source, but we have to evaluate them. Do they work? How well do they work? How much power do they take? The limiting thing is going to be the design approach there is also modular multi-purpose construction set. So when we design it, we want to think about, okay, how do you scale this to a bigger machine? Because a bigger extruder can do some other things. Now, the bioplastic extruder is one of the 50 tools in the Global Village construction set. It can manifest as a filament maker. It can manifest as a thing that makes, for example, plastic, sawdust, wood plastic composites. So you can spit out, in a larger version of that machine, you can spit out planks of recycled plastic mixed with sawdust, like these lumber boards, the fake lumber boards you can see. So there's many applications. It's a very exciting thing and can be quite relevant to cleaning up the environment and doing good things. And then eventually getting to bioplastic, that's a few years down the road, but actually making bioplastic from trees and plants. So synthesizing our own bioplastic, the kind of stuff that big chemical companies do right now. But if you want to start jotting down any notes, you can leave some notes on the Design Sprint page. So anyway, that's to sum up. So it's 1 hour. I gotta get going to do some other things. We're seeding out 10,000 nuts, hazelnuts, and chestnuts. I gotta do that and do some other things. But to sum up this event, if you'd like to follow up and contribute in a meaningful way, surprise me and actually do some of this. You know, we've done a bunch of publicity. I think we're going to get a few more signups, but help us out, and then we can see. Okay, and then once the event comes up, we can say, hey, we ask people how they found out about it. Let's see if somebody finds it out from the work that you have done. Contribute to the effort, and that's how we can help each other collaboratively, and then you can benefit from the lists and protocols generated. If you want to run your own workshops, once again, with the incentive being we are all working together, but eventually it has to, like for me, this is my livelihood, but can many more people do this as a livelihood? That's the question. Like right now, in some way, we're stopping for the 3D printer in a way to bring everybody up along with us, because we want people generating revenue so they can sustain ongoing activity in the organization, and the 3D printer is a low-hanging fruit to do that. And that's why we're doing it. Because we want to, as we go forward, it's like, okay, we're doing stuff at Factory Farm that's pretty crazy, and we're building our greenhouses in a few days and stuff. Right now, the aquaponics is exploding with plant growth, and it's amazing. But how do more people do that? We're developing replicable models, and part of that is working collaboratively, publishing everything, and getting the economics in place. The economics have to come into place. So help us with that on the marketing part. There's many different things we can do, but if you'd like to contribute to that, use the docs that have been generated in this meeting. They're all linked on the Design Sprints page. just dive in there and start getting familiar with the tools like the wiki and the Google Docs and embeds in the wiki, remote searches, and just kind of get your head around the development spreadsheet, which is the ultimate architecture of all the different development steps. And remember that there's two parts. There's one is the architecture, and two is how you display it. So just because that spreadsheet is a mess and it's hard to parse, someone can just take that and make a very beautiful visual representation of, like an info box or a wiki page that contains, or another nice presentation of that. So there's one is the information, but second is how you represent it. The goal is to make it really transparent to work with and to use. Right now it's, we're making the road by walking, so please contribute. So I think I'm going to end up here, and we'll do the next collaborative literacy webinar on Monday and continue with the design sprints on Friday, and let's see if anybody can contribute to the actual marketing, and let's take it from there. The marketing and looking into the filament extruders to evaluate the state of art in open source, and let's collaboratively create the world's first open source filament company. That doesn't exist. There's open source 3D printer companies. Right now there is not a single filament making company. So let's be the first ones to do that and give it away to the world. Okay, so thanks a lot, everybody. Just chew all this, think about all the different design issues and collaborative literacy issues that were brought up in this event, and let's see where we go from here. So thanks a lot for participating, and we'll be in touch. And so next time, Monday and Fridays, you can look at Facebook for the announcements. And next time, I'll promise to post the link to the actual Hangout way in advance, because right now I think people were kind of caught off guard on that. So thanks a lot. Sign up for the workshop. Tell people about the workshop, and let's make it happen. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you soon. Stopping.
Okay, can the rest of us stick around?
Sure, you can.
If anybody else wants to...
Yep, go ahead. So I'm going to stop the broadcast. Or I can... No, I got to go, so I'm going to stop the broadcast right now. And you guys feel free to stay on. I'm going to cut out. I think if I cut out, you guys can all remain, right? Do you guys know how Google Hangouts on air work? Because I don't want to cut it and it just ends.